Stop trying to come to family events. You're embarrassing. My sister texted after I showed up to Mom's birthday in my uniform. I'm a firefighter. Her husband's a hedge fund manager. I replied, understood. I blocked them all. 3 months later, their house caught fire. I was off duty. I got the call from dispatch. I listened to the address, and then My name is Jake. I'm 31 years old. I'm a firefighter. And in my family, I'm the one people respect in public, but quietly act embarrassed by in private. My sister Marissa is 34. She's the golden child. Always has been. She did the whole polished life thing. Good school, good friends, perfect smile for photos. She married Grant, hedge fund manager, the kind of guy who says summer like it's a verb, the kind of guy who shakes your hand like he's doing you a favor. Me? I sleep in a bunk room half the week, smell like smoke sometimes, and my boots live by my front door because I never know when the next call is coming. Growing up, Marissa could do no wrong. If she got a B, it was, the teacher doesn't appreciate her. If I got an A, it was, good. Don't get cocky. My mom, Linda, isn't evil. She's just trained herself to orbit around Marissa's needs because it's easier than dealing with her moods. My dad passed when I was 19, and after that, the whole family turned into this quiet system where everyone tiptoed around Marissa so she wouldn't explode. I learned early that if I stayed useful, I stayed included. So I stayed useful. I showed up to everything, even when it was inconvenient, even when I was exhausted, even when I just worked a 24-hour shift and my brain felt like it had been put in a dryer. Which is how I ended up at my mom's birthday dinner still wearing my uniform. Not because I wanted attention, because I came straight from the station. I didn't want to be late. I didn't want the lecture. I walked in, holding a grocery store cake in one hand and a little gift bag in the other. The room went quiet for half a second. Grant's eyes flicked over my navy shirt, my badge, the radio clipped on my belt. Then he smiled like I was a mascot. Marissa's smile didn't reach her eyes. Jake, she said tight. You couldn't change? I came straight here, I said. Traffic was brutal and... It's fine, she cut in, already turning away. Just sit. Dinner went on. Forced laughs. Grant talking about the market like it was weather. Marissa showing pictures of their new kitchen renovation like it was a baby announcement. Then my aunt leaned over and said, not even whispering, so when are you going to get a real career? Something safer. I swallowed it like I always do, and then, after dessert, while I was in the kitchen rinsing plates, because that's what I do, my phone buzzed. A text from Marissa. Stop trying to come to family events. You're embarrassing. I stared at it with wet hands and a blank face, like my brain couldn't decide if it should laugh or break, and that's the moment I realized I wasn't included. I was tolerated. I didn't blow up. That's the thing. I'm not a dramatic person. Firefighting teaches you real fast that yelling doesn't fix a problem. It just adds noise. So I dried my hands, walked back out, hugged my mom, and left like everything was normal. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck for a full minute and reread Marissa's text. Embarrassing. Like I'd shown up in clown makeup. I typed, understood. Then I drove home. The next morning, Mom called. Hey, sweetie, she said, too cheerful. Marissa said you left early. I had work. You didn't say goodbye to everyone. I hugged you. Silence. Then the softer voice. You know how your sister is. That sentence could be engraved on our family crest. I didn't respond. I just stared at my kitchen wall and felt this slow heat in my chest. Because it wasn't just the text. It was the whole pattern. Marissa didn't just want the spotlight. She wanted the whole stage cleared. When Dad died, I was the one who handled the paperwork. I was 19, sitting in a funeral home office, signing forms I barely understood. Marissa cried, of course, but it was the kind of crying that somehow came with demands. I can't deal with this, she said. Jake, you do it. When Mom's car broke down, I was the one who paid the $1,480 repair because Mom's savings were tight and Marissa had just booked a trip to Tulum. Jake, Mom said, I'll pay you back. She never did. Not once. It always turned into, you know I'm on a fixed income. When Marissa and Grant bought their house, they threw a big backyard party. Catered food, string lights, a bartender. Grant clinked his glass and made a speech about family values. Then he pulled me aside near the grill and said, "So, listen, you're handy, right? Could you help us with some stuff around the house? Save us from hiring randoms?" He said it like it was a compliment. I spent 3 Saturdays fixing gates, patching drywall, and hauling boxes because the movers didn't do it right. At the end, Grant slapped my shoulder. "Good work, ma'am. Really, you're built for this. Built for manual labor. Cool." And Marissa? She'd stand in the doorway with a drink and say things like, "Don't scratch the floors, okay?" Like I was the help. The money stuff got worse after Mom's health started slipping. Nothing dramatic, just normal aging issues that turn into bills, co-pays, prescriptions. A dentist appointment that somehow costs $900 even with insurance. Mom would call me first, not Marissa. "Jake," she'd say, stressed. "I hate to ask, but could you spot me until next month? I had to help Marissa with daycare." Or, "Marissa said her mortgage is higher than they expected." Or my favorite, "You're better with money." I'm better with money because I don't buy $6,000 dining tables. I started tracking it because I felt like I was going crazy. $240 here, $75 there, $1,200 for a new water heater when Mom's finally died, $600 when her fridge quit. Over 2 years, it added up to $8,930. I wasn't rich. Firefighters do okay, but it's not hedge fund money. That was overtime. That was me skipping vacations. That was me eating cheap. Then came the real problem. Grant called me directly, which he never did unless he wanted something. "Jake," he said, upbeat, like we were buddies. "So, we're thinking of doing something big for your mom. Like, meaningful." I waited. "A trip," he said. "A really nice one. Europe. She deserves it." I actually smiled, thinking, okay, maybe they're being decent humans for once. Then he added, "We're going to split it as a family. Fair, right?" My stomach dropped. "How much?" I asked. "Well," he said, like he was discussing groceries. "Total will be around $18,000. But Marissa and I are covering the flights and the hotel. So you just do the spending money and excursions. Like $6,000? $6,000, I repeated. "Come on," he said, laughing. "It's not that bad. You don't have kids. You're basically free." I could hear Marissa in the background. "Tell him it's for Mom. It's for Mom." I said, "Why isn't Marissa paying half?" Pause. Then Marissa's voice took the phone. Sharp. "Because we already do everything, Jake." "Everything?" I said, "I've been paying Mom's bills." "You're exaggerating. I have the numbers." "Oh my God," she snapped. "You're so dramatic. It's always a scorecard with you." I just sat there, holding my phone, thinking about the text. Embarrassing. And suddenly I understood. They didn't want me at family events because I was family. They wanted me around when my wallet was useful and my mouth was shut. That night, I opened my contacts and hovered over Marissa's name. My thumb didn't shake. It felt calm. A week later was Mom's family dinner, the kind where she cooks too much and tries to force everyone to act normal. I almost didn't go, but I did, because I wanted to say it to their faces, not through texts. I walked in wearing plain jeans and a hoodie, no uniform, no embarrassment. Marissa looked relieved the second she saw it. "Thank you," she said, like I'd corrected myself. Grant was already there, sitting like he owned the dining room. He stood up, did the handshake thing. "Hey, ma'am," he said. "Glad you can make it." Mom was in the kitchen fussing over a roast like it was a peace treaty. We ate. Small talk. Grant bragging about some deal, Marissa talking about a charity thing, dropping names. Then Mom clapped her hands. "Okay," she said, smiling too hard. Before dessert, Marissa and Grant have an idea. Marissa leaned forward with this bright, rehearsed face. "Jake," she said, "we're going to take Mom to Europe. Isn't that amazing?" Mom put a hand over her mouth like she was surprised, but I could tell she already knew. Grant said, "She deserves it." Marissa turned to me, and "You'll help, obviously." The word obviously did something to me. I set my fork down. "I'm not paying $6,000, I said. The room froze. Mom's smile flickered. "Jake!" Marissa's eyes widened like I'd slapped her. Grant leaned back, calm, but his tone changed. "It's not about the number. It's about family showing up." I nodded slowly. "I've been showing up." Marissa did this little laugh. "Oh my God, here we go." I paid Mom's car repair, I said. The water heater, the fridge, medical bills. Almost 9 grand in 2 years. Mom's face went pale. Jake, you didn't have to tell them that. That's kind of the point, I said. No one asked, no one cared. You just kept calling me. Marissa threw her napkin down. You are not going to guilt-trip Mom at her own table. I'm not guilt-tripping, I said. My voice was weirdly steady. I'm explaining why the answer is no. Grant's smile was tight now. So you're refusing to help your mother because your feelings got hurt by a text? Marissa snapped. I apologized for that. You didn't, I said. She blinked. Yes, I did. No, I said. You said sorry you took it that way. That's not an apology. That's you blaming me for reacting. Mom reached for my hand. Jake, please, let's not fight. I pulled my hand back gently. This isn't about revenge, I said. This is about closure. Grant scoffed. Closure? Dude, what is this, therapy talk? It's boundaries, I said. I'm not your backup bank account. And I'm not going to be treated like a stain at family events and then expected to fund your plans. Marissa's face got red. You're acting like we're using you. You are, I said simply. You literally called my job embarrassing. Mom whispered, Marissa. Marissa turned on Mom. Don't you start. He's being selfish. Grant stood up. Jake, you should go cool off. You're making everyone uncomfortable. I looked at him for a second and almost laughed, because there it was again. Embarrassing. Uncomfortable. Same word, different outfit. I grabbed my jacket. I'm leaving, I said. And I'm not doing this anymore. Marissa's voice followed me down the hall. If you walk out, don't bother coming back. I paused at the door. Understood, I said. Then I walked out. In my truck, I blocked Marissa. Then Grant. Then, after staring at my screen for a long minute, I blocked the extended family group chat too. Mom was the only one I didn't block. Not because she deserved access, because I knew she'd need it. The first week felt unreal. My phone was quiet in a way I'd never experienced. No guilt texts. No passive-aggressive memes from my aunt. No family dinner Sunday like a summons. Then Mom started calling. Not angry calls, sad calls. Jake, she'd say, voice shaking. Can we talk? I'd answer sometimes. Short. Careful. I love you, I told her. But I'm not being treated like this anymore, she'd cry. I didn't mean for it to get so bad, she said. I know, I'd say. But it did. Marissa tried to get around the block with burner numbers. Unknown number. You owe Mom an apology. Unknown number. You're tearing the family apart. Unknown number. Grant says you're jealous. Jealous of what? The marble countertops? The fake smiles? The way they need someone to look down on so they can feel tall? I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, Mom's neighbor, Mrs. Kaplan, caught me outside my building when I was carrying groceries in. Oh, honey, she said, squeezing my arm. Your mom misses you. I talked to her, I said. She lowered her voice. Your sister is telling people you abandoned the family, that you're unstable. I just nodded, because of course she was. Marissa's power move was always the story. If she controlled the story, she controlled the family. I threw myself into work. Picked up extra shifts not because I needed the money, but because the station was simple. Honest. If someone messed up, you called it out and fixed it. No fake politeness. No weird hierarchy. My crew knew something was up. They didn't pry much, but one night after a call, my captain, Rob, handed me a bottle of water and said, You good? I shrugged. Family stuff? Rob nodded like he understood without details. Family will drain you if you let them. Then, 3 months after Mom's birthday, I was off duty. It was a Tuesday, rainy. I was in sweatpants, half watching a game, trying to convince myself I wasn't lonely. My phone rang. Dispatch. That doesn't happen for fun. I answered immediately. Jake Miller. Jake, the dispatcher said. Quick and tight. We're short. Can you take a call back? I sat up. What's the address? She read it out, and my stomach dropped so hard it felt like missing a step on stairs. It was Marissa's address. Same street. Same house. My brain did this weird stutter. Because the story people want is the petty one, the revenge one, the movie moment. But real life doesn't feel like that. Real life feels like your chest tightening while your hands go cold. I swallowed. What's the situation? Possible structure fire, she said. Neighbors reporting visible flames. I stared at my wall. In my head, I saw Marissa's dining room. Her kids' rooms upstairs. Grant's home office with the smug awards on the shelf. Then I remembered the way Marissa said, "Don't bother coming back." I remembered, embarrassing. I remembered sitting in my truck after that text, feeling small. Dispatch asked, "Jake, you there?" I took a breath. "I'm off duty," I said. But we're tight. This is the part where my training and my emotions collided. Because I'm a firefighter. I don't play games with fire. I don't punish people with danger. But I also knew something else. If I said yes, if I ran in there as the savior, it would become another story Marissa owned. Even after everything, Jake came running. I could already hear it, and I wasn't doing that anymore. So I did the only thing that felt clean. I said, "Send the closest unit. I'm not available for callback." A pause. "Copy." Dispatch said, "Professional." I hung up and immediately called 911 anyway, like an idiot just to make sure the call was real and active. The operator confirmed units were en route. The system worked. Help was coming. I sat there, shaking, not from anger, from the weight of what it meant. 5 minutes later, my phone blew up. Mom, 12 missed calls. Unknown number, 7 missed calls. Another unknown, 9 missed calls. A text from Mom finally came through. "Marissa's house is on fire. Please, please, please call me." Then another number texted, "If you're really a firefighter, you'll help." I stared at that one for a long time because it was so perfectly them. Not, "We're scared." Not, "Are the kids okay?" Just a challenge, an accusation, a test of worth. I called Mom. She answered on the first ring, sobbing. "Jake, oh my God, are they out?" I asked. "Yes," she cried. "They're outside. The kids are okay. Grant's yelling at everyone like it's their fault." Of course he was. I exhaled slowly. "Mom, listen to me. The crews are there. They'll handle it." "Marissa keeps asking if you're coming," Mom whispered. I closed my eyes. "Tell her no," I said. "Tell her I'm not her plan." Mom made this broken sound. "Jake, I love you," I said, "but I'm done being treated like garbage until they need me." She didn't argue. She just cried quietly like she finally understood the price of keeping the peace. The next day, Marissa emailed me. Not apologized, not checked on me. Emailed. Subject line, "Unbelievable." Her message was 3 paragraphs of rage. "How could you live with yourself knowing you let your own family suffer? You're petty and cruel. Grant says you've always been jealous." Then the final line, "Mom is devastated. Hope you're proud." I read it twice and felt nothing. Not numbness, clarity. Because if a house fire doesn't humble you, nothing will. I replied with one sentence. I confirmed help was on the way. Your emergency does not rewrite your behavior. Then I blocked the email too. Mom came by my place a few days later. She looked smaller than I remembered, like the stress had finally landed on her shoulders instead of mine. She sat on my couch and kept twisting her hands. "I didn't raise you to be heartless," she said quietly. "I'm not heartless," I replied. "I'm tired." Mom nodded, eyes wet. "Marissa said you did it to punish her." I shook my head. "No. Punishment would be me interfering with the response. Punishment would be me wishing harm." I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I didn't do any of that," I said. "I made sure the system worked. I made sure help was coming. Then I stayed out of it because I'm done being their hero on demand." Mom stared at the floor for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "I should have stopped this years ago." That hit harder than any insult, because I didn't want her guilt. I wanted change, so I told her the truth in the simplest way I could. "I'm not asking you to choose," I said, "but I'm also not going back to being the family tool. If you want me in your life, it has to be separate from Marissa's control." "Okay." And for the first time, I believed she meant it. Here's the moral, for anyone who needs it. Being the reliable one can turn into a life sentence if you never set boundaries. People will call you selfish the moment you stop letting them benefit. And sometimes the healthiest thing you can say isn't a dramatic speech, it's a calm, final sentence. Understood. Then you block. Then you breathe. And you build a life where family isn't something you have to earn by suffering.